For the thousands in the comments and the millions listening on YouTube Premium.
Folks, welcome to another episode of KNITRO here on Knotfest. I just want to let everybody know that Colin is on his way to the podcast. His footage is stuck in transit, but it's en route, and we'll keep you updated throughout the program. But in his place, our broadcast booth is joined by the other most accredited hardcore lore historian, Bo Lueders.
Hello.
How we doing?
I'm doing so well. So good.
Beautiful.
I want to mention that right now on the KNITRO hotline, I have the hot scoop on why Colin isn't here. 1-606-6600.
You got to call in to find out exactly why. But we were going to. I'm hearing that the footage is still on its way. We're going to keep you. We'll keep everybody in the loop throughout the entire program.
He's a professional. He's a consummate professional. He'll get it
absolutely.
I wanted to ask you what your knowledge and history with pro wrestling is.
Pro wrestling in general is pretty good. I was real into it as a kid. I would watch an hour of Nitro and then switch to Raw, you know.
Nice.
Got out of it probably right around like the end of the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Got back into it over right around the start of COVID, and with, you know, Brody and the Butcher doing so well and getting kind of back into it. And now all I do at night is play Diablo and watch top 10 crowd pops of all time on fucking, you know, whatever. So
gotta play the Diablo. It looks great.
I don't know a ton about WCW, to be honest with you. So this was like, wow, it's so cartoony.
Yeah.
Like, it's so comic booky, you know? I forgot about that.
Especially the Hulk Hogan stuff.
Yeah.
Just to me, watching it, it's felt like seeing this, I'm like, oh, this is what I thought wrestling was. Like watching like Brody and Andy on AEW, you're like, wow, wrestling is completely different than what I assumed. But like, this is like, it's like when you hear a band that sounds exactly like what your mom thinks metal sounds like, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And what is 1995 too? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very dark period for pro wrestling.
Yeah, and I don't think I was even remotely into it yet, into WWE yet. What
so
video
this
games
next
were out
the
at
following
the time? That's what did it.
The following summer is kind of when things really pop off.
That's the end of
the video games. Right? Yeah, the video games were, even that was scarce. It was like WCW Super Brawl. Then it was In Your House. Wow. Raw is War were the WWF ones. So yeah, all the good video games didn't even come out yet.
Right.
So this is just in general a very bleak period. We have to suffer through the darkness before we see the light.
Yeah.
Which is next summer when I think about April or May is when it gets really good, and March is when it's like the lowest of the low.
Okay.
So I'm actually very excited for March. I'm very excited to see what Jordan thinks. But where we were before this is we just watched Halloween Havoc, which we have been getting hyped for the last 5 weeks on the show.
It's still such a cool concept for a pay-per-view.
We've been saying it every week.
It's awesome.
Every week.
It's I feel like there should always be a holiday themed pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the best one.
It's the best holiday.
Yeah.
I want it to look like the Misfits set.
Yeah.
The Misfits, like, check out these fucking pumpkins. Give me that shit.
Yeah.
Come on.
And like
the sets get much, much fancier in years future, for sure.
For sure. I think what is it? AEW does like the Thanksgiving Dynamite in Chicago. It's like always in Chicago. And like I love that, but let's go back a month, you know? Make it a Halloween thing. What are we doing? I don't know.
There was this one Halloween that Rampage was on, and they had Britt Baker versus Abaddon in a Night of the Living Dead match, and that's one of my favorite segments AEW's ever done.
Abaddon.
Yeah, dude.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, so she's really great.
Yeah.
Go on, like make your own, like there's other like Halloween hell, whatever. Go off.
Horror. Halloween horror.
Sure.
That was my idea.
You think?
Yeah, there you go.
You think Davey Havoc got Havoc from Halloween Havoc?
I mean,
This is a great question.
yes. I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe he was just like, "Oh,
Absolutely.
Halloween Havoc is
He's
so
a big
sick."
Sting fan.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
That would be the best.
So we just
I
watched.
love both
I know.
equally. So
Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Rob.
We just watched Halloween Havoc. You got a great recap of it on this episode of Nitro. I want to say that of the 9 episodes of Nitro that we've watched on the show, this is easily the least eventful episode of the show. Sorry, Bo. We picked you for such a basic ass episode. The real meat of the episode is where I'm stunned that at the beginning of the show, they essentially give away, not quite at the beginning. There's a brutal match, but then they gave away the entire end of the pay-per-view in the middle of the show. They showed a recap of the last 10 minutes of the pay-per-view, and this goes against every marketing rule I've ever learned about pro wrestling, which is you never, ever show the finish of the pay-per-view on the free show. You tease like the 30 seconds before the finish, you do a pause, and you tell the people, order the replay if you want to see the finish.
Amateur.
What are they doing here? And plus the finish here was so bad. It was embarrassing. It was panned, and I would think that because of that, they would not want to show that on free TV anyway, but oh no. Here, watch this fucking mummy hump Hulk Hogan on free TV.
Unbelievable. Here's the thing. When the episode started, the actual episode starts immediately with Witch Bat Pepe, which I was like, oh, we're in for a heater. This is gonna be an unbelievable episode. Spooky Pepe. We still have pumpkins. We gotta get Nitro merch, and we need Pepe shirts. I need one with every outfit.
Yeah, like an all over print of every outfit that Pepe wear.
Who was
Pepe
writing
a mosaic
for Nitro at this time?
Who's
the
writing?
lead booker is Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan. Okay.
Which you can tell but by the amount of screen time he gives himself.
Okay.
But he would say that he would argue that the reason it was so goofy was because this is what Hulk Hogan wanted. And that he was writing for essentially an audience of 2, which was Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. And I guess the third audience would be, Turner. And that's why he had to do the goofy stuff, because Hogan didn't want to do serious wrestling. He didn't want to have a work rate match. He just wanted to fucking do something silly and go backstage and drink his Coors Light.
Hell yeah. Is that like the biggest get that a promotion? I mean, I would imagine that a promotion could have.
Oh, yeah.
Getting Hogan.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the catch-22 that we've kind of discussed is like it absolutely put them in a new stratosphere in terms of competing with WWE,
right? Because
Hogan is such a strong brand that it finally gave them a foot in the door with big sponsors, with all these other, like all this business stuff with wrestling.
Because he's just a name where
he's just the biggest name.
Oh, yeah, well, okay.
But the other side of it is he is so past his peak and he's so used to being surrounded by yes men that he hasn't evolved his character at all. And it sticks out like a sore thumb on the show, on the series. Every week, it's like there's all the good stuff. And oh, by the way, let's take a break from the good stuff. We are contractually obligated to show Hulk Hogan. That's what it feels like.
It's what it feels like. But I still think that they think that maybe they've gaslit themselves into thinking that Hulk Hogan is still still a draw for them, important to be featured and does well. But it sure everything we've watched has been such a hard miss. But I do understand why they're doing it. Like, Bo, for context, it'd be like if at that All In, where like Punk had his first match and Danielson came out, and also Adam Cole. Like, if after all that happened, John Cena also came out.
Right. Yeah.
And then they were like, John Cena, we have John Cena on the show.
And
That's
then
how
all they
insane
talked
it
about was John Cena the whole next show and not
Right,
CM Punk
right.
and Bryan Danielson.
Right.
That's the thing too, is like the show itself positions Hogan as bigger than everyone else on the show, which I never liked. And I never liked that, nobody could be bigger. I mean, contractually, literally nobody could be bigger than Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
He had a clause in his contract that he has to be the highest paid performer on the show. So,
So
if
sick, dude.
anybody comes in, they have to
so
get paid
awesome.
less. And what, like, from what I've heard from people in the know is that like your push is dependent on your salary range. If you are getting $2 million a year or whatever he was getting, you are getting that, like the piece of the budget that your contract is the piece of the screen time that you're going to get, because it directly correlates. Like they would never put a guy making $100,000, which is like the opening guys, which sounds great, but you got to keep in mind they're paying for all their travel too. They would never put him with a guy like Hogan because the contracts don't work out. So like, for example, a few years later, Chris Jericho, he tried to get a pay bump. And the main reason he wanted a pay bump is because he knew that the only way to get in the main event is to be paid like a main eventer. And Bischoff didn't want to pay him. So he left. Very smart. So there's all of these backstage politicking, and it's so much more prevalent in WCW because there isn't a guy like Vince McMahon to like have the final word. Like Eric Bischoff is easily played, I would say.
Oddly enough, I was at that All In, and I was at Jericho's WWE debut. So we've come full circle in this conversation for me.
Yeah.
That was a great debut. That was a great Jericho debut.
The countdown, the Y2J countdown.
Because that was also a really good thing, because everyone kind of knew everyone wanted it to be Jericho. It was like the CM Punk surprise. Like everyone kind of knew, but you didn't know.
Which I was there
and
too,
then, oh my God.
doing it all.
Bo
I haven't
is
been to
just
that many things,
at
honestly.
every important.
yeah. I really haven't been to that many, but these just coincidentally happen to be. But you're right about Punk's first big match back, and then like the following Dynamite was not all about Punk.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. But
You're right.
here, every episode is all about Hogan. Like they literally cut away from a match just because, Hogan's arriving, and it's the best match of the show. So
That's right.
But the good news is Hogan is not going to be on TV for a few months. He's shooting a movie or something contractually. He's gone until February or March.
Suburban
Santa
Commando.
with muscles or some shit.
Yeah. He was in the Three Ninjas too.
So, that's right. A sequel, not the original.
Not the original. No.
The
The original was near and dear to my heart. I think it's in.
Same.
I think the second one they go to Japan, and then it's the third one is Hulk Hogan at like an amusement park.
Yeah.
And somebody does a Hurricane Rana, and I remember being like, "Oh!" as a kid.
That kid. And when you see a kid doing like a cool move that you know what it is, like something from Tekken, you're like, "Oh fuck!"
Hogan definitely told him to put that in for sure.
I love a wrestler in a movie because they do their move in the movie.
He must do a leg drop in that movie. I don't remember. But I would bet every dollar that I have that he does a big leg drop just to some evil ninja.
Incredible.
Let's start doing the rundown here.
Yeah. Who do we got first?
You have a big pay-per-view. You have a huge, memorable, if not infamous, angle to end the show with some intrigue on where the fuck are they going with this. So naturally, the next day, the first match features Sergeant Craig Pittman. What?
Who the fuck is this guy, Rob?
Do you remember Sergeant Craig Pittman, Bo?
No, not even.
I remember Sergeant Craig Pittman as just a total jabron, a nobody. I had no idea that he actually got a semblance of a push. You have to think he has some blackmail material on Kevin Sullivan to be getting this much TV time. To get the prime spot, the 8 o'clock top of the hour spot on Nitro the night after a big pay-per-view. Like, he hasn't been featured on TV in weeks.
And that's his only ring name. So he wasn't anybody else ever that I would know. He's just the Sarge.
I believe he was a trainer at their like wrestling school, maybe that's
what was the name of the wrestling school?
Him with another.
The Power Plant.
The Power Plant.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Dude, yeah. Oh, so good.
So he faces. Oh, go ahead.
Any like I love a wrestling school that's called like the gas station. It's so great. It's so much fun. What else is fun is Eddie Guerrero coming out, and he is in the fun part about watching 1995 wrestling, as I've mentioned on other episodes, is the variety of mullet. DDP has a very specific mullet, Johnny B. Bad, and here we get a brand new version of it with Eddie Guerrero, which is kind of like, he's kind of got like the queer ally Bushwick mullet. You know what I'm saying, Rob?
I could see it. Yeah, I absolutely.
Yeah.
This would fit right in today. Absolutely.
I think that's on the horizon for myself personally. So that's good.
Oh, God.
Dude, you know, and
Shave
not
sides,
to jump promotions again, but I'm going to do that a lot because that's how I'm going to.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't watch those. But Shawn Michaels, when he kicks Marty Jannetty, when the Rockers break up, has a crazy mullet.
He
like
has
a Mel Gibson Lethal
Weapon
Weapon-esque mullet. It's wild.
I agree.
It's Sean has, you know what? He looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme at Hard Target for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Where it's like just this perfect short 90s haircut and then the longest,
Chaos, dude.
Luscious back.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable.
He was also huge, definitely on the gas at that time.
Yeah,
for sure. He was massive at one point for like,
oh yeah,
how little. But anyway, so the thing with Eddie Guerrero for me too is like I missed him because I knew of him through the video games and like again an hour a week of Nitro.
Oh, you mean you missed the whole thing? I thought you meant you miss him as a performer.
Oh no! I missed like I remember when were they the Outsiders? Perry Saturn, and so I remember when they.
No! That was
the Radicals.
The Radicals.
The Radicals. Thank you.
My bad. I remember when they came into the WWE at the time. I remember that, but I was like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know. So I just like all of Eddie's like career, I've had to kind of learn about posthumously as I've gotten into stuff so much later in life.
So it's
more
cool
to watch stuff like that. Oh yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, so I mean, Eddie did the best he could with Pittman. There was a very unfortunate line on commentary by Eric Bischoff where he said Eddie Guerrero might be small, but he's got a heart the size of a mountain, which for a guy who died of a enlarged heart,
dude, how do they keep doing this? They keep
Well, they don't know.
Well, they don't know, but it is the irony in all of this commentary. Bo, anytime we've watched one of these episodes that features Eddie or like a Chris Benoit, there is a line that like alludes to their later death, which is so dark. Like they keep going like they're like anytime with Benoit, they're like he's a crippler or whatever. It's so fucked up.
Maybe it's just a non-linear correlation because it's a violent drama that we're watching, so it just happens,
totally.
You know?
It just feels insane. Like Colin always mentions on the show, like you gotta be careful. You gotta just talk about what you're seeing in the ring because otherwise, like you might be sounding like a boob later on.
Right.
You're gonna sound insane later. And even with lines like this guy's got a heart the size of a horse or whatever, it's a problem. But yeah, it's a shame that you're joining us and like out the gate, it's like, oh, cool, Eddie Guerrero. But then you're like,
this guy,
a fucking army guy.
Yeah.
And the hits keep on coming because the next match is Sabu versus Disco Inferno. Which
Dude.
I would honestly, after what they've been doing the last few weeks, I'm into this.
Okay.
I think you skipped over the Shark and Scott Norton finally settling their 9/11 beef.
Oh yes, I didn't. Well, right. They do a recap of this feud that nobody cares about, and also I did have a note in here. I was going to save it for the match, but they have a graphic for Shark versus Scott Norton, and Scott Norton looks 5 inches taller than the Shark in this graphic. They still haven't gotten their scaling down on these graphics because everyone just looks all these weird different proportions. I don't care about this feud. I cannot believe they're still pitching this.
It's so funny. You know what it might be? I feel like because there is no Photoshop, and the graphics on Nitro in general are really funny because they never fully fill the screen for some reason. Like you can always see the crowd through it. There's part of me that's like, with these things, like, are they just like cutting up pictures from a magazine and whatever the size is what it is?
Dude, I think it's clear there's like 2 different graphics teams. They have like the Turner team doing the like creating the templates because like the Nitro backgrounds and everything, those look very flashy. But then they have like some intern doing the match graphics because the match graphics do not match the quality of the show graphics. Like
it's
even
crazy.
The Nitro logo itself was in a pumpkin. It had like a cool little update for this week. But yeah, I agree with you. So anyway, Disco versus
real quick, is Scott Norton coming out to a fake version of Living on a Prayer? His like intro music sounded like it had like a whoa whoa whoa, like he had a talk box on it.
I mean, when did Slippery When Wet come out? In the 80s, right?
Well, definitely
like,
before this. So
I mean,
every song is
7
a sound
years
alike.
behind.
Yeah.
So
No, totally. I mean,
what
what's the thing? The Hardy Boys music is Enter Sandman.
Is it?
Think about it.
You're right.
Oh.
It has that bass tone.
With the bass intro.
I hear it.
Like, it's in there. There's like a clean guitar thing.
I'm gonna have to go back and check out the Scott Norton thing because I didn't pay attention to that, but you might be right.
Disco Inferno has one of the craziest gimmicks ever.
What are your thoughts?
Just like, with all due respect to the man, that is some bullshit. There's no fucking like, and I know that there's far worse. There's the Yeti and fucking what was Kevin? Yeah, the Yeti. And what was Kevin Nash? He was like a wizard. Like, there's some terrible shit. So I'm not, but like Disco Inferno was around. Like
he's on TV every week.
Yeah, for a long
time
doing
this.
So it's just like, holy shit. That's unbelievable. And I didn't know that. I straight up thought that Sabu was an ECW like home, like Japan and ECW only. That's it. I had no idea he was ever on
It was
television.
only like 5 weeks, and he was poached from ECW, and then they didn't know what to do with him, so he just went back.
Okay.
Yep. It was crazy. This is the last, allegedly the last.
Yeah.
The last thing he does.
We keep saying that every week, but I'm almost certain this is the last one because I know it was a very short run. I think this is the 3rd time we're saying this, but almost nothing really eventful here. Disco did not work well with Sabu, but Sabu still beat the shit out of him, which I took some perverse pleasure in. And the match ends with Sabu throwing Disco on a table and doing a somersault onto the table, which of course, no way Disco Inferno is taking this. So he runs off and then the table doesn't break. And Sabu's visibly very frustrated and starts having a match with the table.
So good.
Sabu.
Who won?
Who
went over
the table? The table was still not broken by the end of it.
I don't remember what Bobby said, but in my notes, I was like, Bobby, anytime something's like slightly going wrong, like this Sabu table spot, he always becomes like an entire Abbott and Costello routine by himself because the other 2 commentators are useless.
Yes.
He's gotta. He's trying so hard. And then we get into like, and this insane, like, we get into the footage is on its way. The footage from last night's Halloween Havoc is, they act like it's a secret. That, like, this is, we're having people taking the film out of the vaults and like, taking it to the arena, which is crazy. And then they start showing stills, like, but we're going to show you photographs from the show as if they're not screen caps. Like the most clear So funny to hear them like going like, well, the footage is on its way, but we have photos from last night, and it's clearly like someone pausing on a VHS.
Well, see, the file transfer is so slow in 1995, so it's much faster to transfer still images than a full video. So
And
those
speaking
came
of
through
file
first.
transferring, we just want to let you know that the transfer from Colin is still en route. En route, folks. Any minute now, we're gonna have that footage update from Colin. Rob, what happened next on the show?
Then I believe is this when I think now we
The
have
Horsemen.
The Horsemen. Oh, I have no notes on the Horsemen because that was actually a good segment. So
that's a good point.
But they this is the only part of the show right now where I feel like this is like real wrestling. Oh, before the Horsemen, by the way, we see Bobby Heenan talking to Sunny Ono, which is a very racist Japanese caricature. And this is all setting up this upcoming WCW versus New Japan Pro Wrestling feud, which is going to be for the next 2 months.
Which again, I didn't know they did shit like that. I had no idea.
That's so sick.
Yeah,
me neither. I had
awesome.
no idea.
I always assumed that the big two only did their own shit. And I think eventually that's how it was.
WCW had a very long-standing relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Awesome. So cool.
Even to the late 80s. That's how the Great Muta came to America, and his excursion was in WCW, and that's where he really became a big star. So they have this guy, Sonny Ono, and it's like, who the fuck is Sonny Ono? I've never heard of him. Nobody's ever heard of him. Turns out he's just some dude Eric Bischoff is friends with. According to Dave Meltzer, he is a used car salesman from Iowa who is a former kickboxer and knows next to nothing about pro wrestling, which naturally makes him Eric Bischoff's top advisor and Japanese liaison.
And again, you got Bobby Heenan killing it. Like
he was so good in this.
Doing visual, like pointing at something, holding a sushi and throwing it away because no one ate sushi in 1995. We were scared of it.
He was doing
which is
so
racist,
many jokes that like the camera wasn't even really picking up, but he was constantly on in this conversation.
You're not even. You can't hear the conversation. They're the other commentators are talking over it, and Bobby is out there like Buster Keaton destroying it. It's unbelievable. The house was gonna fall, like a whole wall was gonna fall down, and he was gonna be through the window. It was crazy. I love this guy is unbelievable, and I just can't believe he's working this hard with material that's this terrible.
I'm surprised he's just gotten here, so he's still inspired. His soul hasn't been crushed yet. Wait a few years and he's going to be completely checked out. But yeah, he's really, really elevating a lot of the stuff.
One thing I do want to point out about Horseman before we completely move on from that, I know I'm going back, is Brian Pillman Jr. or Brian Pillman Sr. Excuse me, just being awesome.
This is where he's starting his loose cannon character.
I love it.
It's so good. He really stands out, and it's so. Can you imagine standing out when the other two people in the ring are Ric Flair and Arn Anderson?
Yeah, no, exactly. Standing out next to Ric Flair is insane.
Yeah,
and it just shows
they're really great.
Yeah,
I love it, dude. Brian is unbelievable. He's the only promo I think across the entire show. In every episode that we've watched, where he doesn't stumble on any words.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks
no ums.
He's got no voice at all. Pretty much, he's like almost has a tracheotomy, but he's speaking like perfectly with such intent. It's really impressive stuff. And then
it is in fact he does in fact have a injured trachea from like it's like a childhood thing that he always.
Well, now I feel bad.
Right.
I've been insensitive this entire episode.
No, it's fine. It's something that he's a tough guy.
You guys have seen the dark side on him, where it talks about how he worked kind of both things. Was this before he went? Like, where was this in his?
This is the formation of it. This is where he's starting it, and then next May. 96 is when the loose cannon thing happened. We're actually in February, March is when he starts like doing the stuff on WCW, and then they fire him, and then he goes, "Oh, it's so good,
so good." Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're
can't
gonna
wait.
there is actually good stuff coming, even though there's bad stuff. Yeah, this
Horseman
segment was fire.
It was great. Like usual, Ric Flair said a lot of stuff, but I had no idea what he said. The only thing I knew, I wrote down was the Horseman. He says Horseman with an A. Horseman. And then he yelled a lot, and I don't know what he said, but it was fucking sick. It's beautiful.
Dude,
and then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, think about too how Pillman was in the Horseman and the Hart Foundation.
It's perfect.
Like in his life, those are the stables he was with too.
Yeah, the two most important, like
the
most
awesome.
That's a great point.
The two biggest groups for like you're badass at wrestling, he was in. Like
it's so sick, so sick. I again, he was one who I didn't appreciate until much later in life.
Watching these Nitros, I feel like the thing that's really making me appreciate though is Arn Anderson. Like Arn is crushing it. Like him with the like the cult leader glasses and the tracksuits is so like it's an incredible look. He's so soft spoken, but he's got a lot of menace in him. Like seeing this version of Arn, like remembering the like I pull out the Glock, Arn from AEW. I'm like, oh, that guy would.
Yeah, right.
Straight up, this Arn would shoot you.
That he probably just couldn't say shit like that on Turner television. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a little more family. Wow, good point.
Yeah, no, he was always one of the best promos in WCW. He could always sell a match. And
he's
really a bit he was always underrated because he's standing next to Ric Flair, who is the best at that. You know,
Dude,
so
and being,
he was
your
kind
nickname
of in
being the Enforcer.
the enforcer, though. Like, I mean, come on, that's the best.
Enforcer. There's nothing but guns under that tracksuit. It's unbelievable. He straight up is like the one. He should be like the one non-Italian guy in like The Sopranos. It's it's
the guy who gets the one.
His real name is Marty Lundy.
Yeah,
he might be Italian.
He could be. He's great.
Italian.
I'm a huge fan. But
right,
yeah,
and then we have the main event, which is American males, American males, American males, American males versus Lex Luger and Meng. This got me so mad, gentlemen, because yesterday I had on the previous show, Halloween Havoc, I had to torture myself watching a 13-minute Lex Luger versus Meng match where the story is they're both on the same side anyway. So why are they having this long match where they're actually beating each other up only to team the next night? Like, well, how does this make any sense? Why is Lex Luger teaming with that? There's so many questions. I don't know, but I will say though, Luger and Meng did make a good tag team. They did some cool tag team moves.
Maybe it's like a Bryan Danielson Moxley thing where it's like, we got to bleed together and then we can fight.
But they didn't tell the story at all.
Yeah,
they totally skipped a few parts. They don't care about the details.
Wasn't Meng like the hardest, like IRL?
dude?
Yes.
He
is legitimately the toughest wrestler.
Just
like the one that nobody would start a fight with.
That's so sick. Fuck.
It's so funny that he's the scariest guy, but then they were like, can you put on this cape?
Like, this ill-fitting
can you put on this
with a
octopus hat? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Dude, my mom met Lex Luger once. He was at a diner where I grew up in Bloomingdale, Illinois. And there was this diner that we went to every week. And my mom like didn't know anything about wrestling, but like Lex Luger was supposed to be like Hogan #2. So she remembered that. And he was legitimately in this diner, like exactly what you would imagine. Like tank top, fanny pack, American flag,
Hell yeah.
sweatpants or whatever, and like said hello, and he just said, hey, and like, that was it. That's the whole story. But that's my mom will fucking bring that up anytime
Hell yeah.
wrestling comes up.
I met Lex Luger.
Yeah.
It's great also that she knows who Lex Luger is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
It's
appreciate
because of the Hogan #2 like push.
Were you
Love it.
around for did you watch any Lex Luger stuff in real time, Bo?
Not even a little bit. I remember because wasn't he back in the NWO at one point?
Yeah.
So I like time jump. And once WCW versus NWO came out, the video game, then I became aware of who's who. You know what I mean?
I've heard that is like the wrestling video game. It's like that and
that one, No Mercy,
No
and
Mercy,
WrestleMania
yeah.
2000.
Why were that? What was it about him? Just
Because-
felt good, or
So at the time, there was also WWF Attitude was the game. And
Yeah.
Attitude, you had to fucking study the strategy guide to know how to do a pile driver. Like it was like, like it was really complicated. The WCW games were just so easy. Anyone could pick them up and knew that like, oh, A was grapple, B was punch. And then the C buttons would send them in a direct, like it was like the easiest, super fucking awesome. They were so sick.
And I think the developers of those games are the ones working on the new AEW game.
Yeah, I don't remember what the name of the company is.
Ukes.
That's it.
did you play these games, Rob?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
assuming you
I
did. Of
did-
course you did.
Yeah, like I play them very much in a social setting. I by this point I was fully engulfed in computer nerdery, so I didn't. I like got my parents to buy me computers as opposed to consoles. But I would go
Right.
to friends' houses, and these would be the ultimate social games, and they were so fun. Like especially Revenge was really fun with like the backstage brawl,
Dude.
and it was so great.
God, it was so fun. Just like I loved, like you could be the most baby face ever character at the time and go over to the barricade and just like 2x4, just like, all right, I'm gonna beat ass now. Like, watch out.
That's so good. But watching Lex Luger, because it is strange. It feels like this is them maybe giving up on Lex Luger,
No.
at least for this moment. Because they're
No.
like, all right, we got to make him a heel. People are not into it.
No, it's just the start. It's actually leading to a pretty cool storyline in the
Okay.
next few weeks. But yeah, so
Word.
Luger is now with the Dungeon of Doom. They have a decent tag match. I was very impressed with Marcus Bagwell's hot tag. Like he really got the crowd behind him, doing his like big comeback. I was impressed. Like for a team that's a joke, I was like, okay, the crowd responds.
Yeah.
But this whole thing
What
was
did-
stupid. It's just a waste of time. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Jordan?
I was going to ask about but what do you think of American males?
American male.
I mean, as an American male,
Yeah.
I love this team. Who's the guy who's with Bagwell? I don't know the other guy.
Scotty Riggs is the other
Scotty
guy.
Riggs. Was he did he change his name at any point or anything?
He became Riggs. No, he's basically Scotty Riggs.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so
Great.
I don't,
Ravens fly.
obviously I remember Buff Bagwell, but I don't remember Riggs. I don't, dude. The shit that they got away with at the time. They got away with murder.
What?
Mhm.
I in my notes I had like I still don't understand like what this is. They're called American males. They look like Wham, and they come out to a very specific song that doesn't sound like Wham. Wham is British. What is this?
Yeah. Oh, good point.
What do they
Yeah,
think
right.
this is? What the fuck?
I don't know.
They keep trying to
can't
make
figure it
Marcus
out.
Bagwell a thing. This is like his third tag team.
Is it really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
So that's really all it is. But yeah, this was nothing. American males are not like completely forgettable. And then finally we get the Jimmy Hart promo where he explains, or where we think he's going to explain why he turned on Hulk Hogan. And he says, I bet you want to know why I turned on you, Hogan. Maybe I'll tell you in my book, or maybe next week on Nitro. Why not right now, Jimmy? Why not this moment? Tell me right now after I've been sitting here for an hour waiting for this.
I was so fucking bummed that he did not pull out a physical copy of the book. Like, dude, if you're gonna bring it up, like, give me,
let me
lean
see this
in,
book.
Bring out I was hoping that he would bring out a physical copy of the book, and then like a cardboard cutout of him holding the book would have like gone into frame. It would have just gone full Barnes and Noble commercial for just a second.
So
I would have liked it.
The Giant stole the world title. He didn't win the title. He just stole the physical belt. Hogan is still the champion. Giant has the belt. It does look great around his waist. With Hogan gone till February, it almost like this again shows Hogan's political power, because this is the Giant's first match, building him up as a monster. It would have made sense for Hogan to lose to the Giant here and then set up a rematch when he gets back. Hogan's not doing that. Fuck that.
Yeah, he's not doing the job.
Instead, we have this weird in between where the Giant just stole Hogan's property, and then the Giant says, "Say what you may, do what you will, but nobody is knocking this Giant off a hill." We're giving him Dr. Seuss lines. Come on, get out of here.
What's that?
I sound like Jerry
Brothers
Seinfeld.
Grimm? What's
Get
that?
out of here.
Big man, tall, small man, push him up a hill. What's what is the like the Brothers Grimm? Is that the old like, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a line from Brothers Grimm.
He's literally out here fee fi fo fum.
Yeah.
This is crazy shit. He looks unbelievable.
He looks amazing.
This guy. His hair's great. He's in crazy shape.
What a
He's
find.
the only person who's wearing this belt where it looks like a regular belt. It's great.
Dude, it looks so good too.
That's the biggest. It's
the GOAT for sure.
Every time I see it, I'm like, it's the three are winged eagle, which is what a stupid fucking name that is. Big Gold and old New Japan belt. Right? Like those are the three?
Yeah, the previous IWGP World title,
Those are like the top. Every time I see Big Gold, I'm like, this is the one though.
It's the
like,
one.
As
I'm sure it's been brought up, Colin has his in his room, and like when I've been over there, and like it's like a full replica and it says Colin Young on it. It's like amazing. It's like a sight to behold. It's so gorgeous. And God, is it big.
So putting your...
That's not the only thing they say about Colin.
I love that they put... Colin is a sight to behold. And speaking of that sight, we have just received that footage, and let's behold it right now. Take it away, Colin.
It stinks.
Astute observations. Well said, well spoken.
There you have it, folks. Colin Young has made his opinion known. Find out the real truth on the KNITRO hotline.
Oh my God. To bring it back to the belt thing before that beautiful Colin review, I would like, it's very funny to put like your own name on the belt.
What else are you gonna do? I mean, he's the champ, you know.
I would put the funniest possible. I would put like Susan Sarandon. Like, remember when Susan Sarandon was WCW champion?
Jason Alexander.
Yeah. Go nuts. Do something.
That's a good
Super Mario.
Dr. Mario.
Dude, Dr. Mario, fuck yeah.
Who else looked good with
beautiful
that thing on? The Rock eventually looked real good with it on. Goldberg looked great with it on.
Yeah, Goldberg looked good. Flair, obviously.
Well,
when I think of that belt, I think that's Flair's belt, you know.
Who did it actually look best on? Like, is it? I think it might be Goldberg.
I think it's Goldberg.
Yeah.
He looked unbelievable.
Great set of everything on that man. He was made for that belt, and that belt was made for him for sure. The Rock wore it, right?
Yeah. He won it after the merge.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good. But Goldberg at one point was just undeniable, dude. What's the pick where there's that pick with Bret Hart where there's 3 belts between them?
Yeah.
And it's like a hard pick. Like they actually both look really fucking sick.
Yeah, they have the tag belts and Big Gold.
Who's got? I think does Brett have Big Gold?
I think Brett has Big Gold, and he's like, it's like him and Goldberg, and it look like the background looks nuts.
Yeah,
it looks like they're in Cold as Life. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome promo. Yeah, it's very sick.
I fucking love it. They probably, but they like. It's a shame because they like famously hate each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, one of them hates the other.
Yeah, one of them. The other one.
The other guy is like, come on, man.
Like, come on, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Have you guys watched Knife or Death?
No.
It is a show
on Netflix.
On Netflix that is hosted by Bill Goldberg.
It is a knife competition show.
It's a knife
insane.
like obstacle course competition.
Yeah.
And dude, it is so insane.
It's so funny.
It's so funny because he'll just like roast people while they're on it, and he'll be like, "Gotta step up that cardio." You know.
Well, also though, because you think with a knife competition, are they getting the top knife experts in the world? No, they're just getting Joe Schmo from the fucking meat factory with his katana.
Yeah,
and he's so overconfident, and then he completely fucks up his course. It's fucking
dude.
I only watched one episode.
It's dude, you gotta watch it. I've watched every episode. The guy who like judges whether their blades are like permissible to go through the course or not, because sometimes he's just like, this is like you bought this at a Love's travel stop. Like, I'm sorry, you can't go through. That guy's a champ. He's the grand champ of Forged in Fire. So there's like a tie-in with Forged in Fire. And
sick.
Goldberg's mic is constantly peaking for 2 seasons. The man's screaming, and they never figured out a limiter. He's just screaming the entire time. You gotta watch it. It's fucking incredible.
You gotta slow down. You're getting gassed,
dude. He's sucking wind. Like that's exactly what it's like the whole fucking time. It's so good. Highly recommended.
He's sucking wind. Oh my god, he's got such like mean gym teacher energy.
Yeah.
It's on. I can't wait to watch this.
It's outstanding. I'm not even joking. I've seen
for
every
the next
episode.
Spoiler alert. We're doing another episode with Bo. I will report back.
Please,
after watching
beautiful.
Literally every episode of this fucking show. I can't wait.
You're gonna love it.
I wish we could, for the like at least till that New Japan feud with WCW starts happening. I wish we could switch the show and it's a review of that show. Because this episode straight up was like abysmal. Bo, I'm so sorry that this is the first one you had.
No,
to
you know
watch.
what? It was like even looking back, because like I have the episode pulled up here, and I was just like reminding myself and fast forwarding through it, and like it's fun. That's the one thing you can say about the WCW stuff at this time is like it's complete fun. Like there's nothing like, oh shit. Like it's just like a good time. So it was nostalgic in that way.
Yeah. I had you know what it was? I feel like it felt, when I say abysmal, it was just like, all right, well, literally nothing happened.
Yeah.
And we had just, you gotta watch the Halloween Havoc.
Okay.
That we watched. Because it was insane.
Okay.
At least
for
just the last
many
match
reasons.
was insane.
Okay. I will
the
watch
match before was a good Brian Pillman match, the penultimate. So scan through it.
Dude, here's the thing. The Sting, Flair, Arn, and Pillman tag match is like one of the best things I've ever seen. And then it's followed up by the literal craziest wrestling thing I've ever seen in my whole life. That was insane. Everything that happens is, why is this why? I loved it though. I loved the whole thing. It was great.
To your initial point, I saw it because it's at the end of this episode because they gave away the finish.
That's right. That's right. They gave away the whole. You already saw the main event, which was
really
fucking
did.
dumb.
The whole.
And I can't believe they showed it again. They were so proud of it. They were like,
Yeah.
everyone needs to see this.
Wow.
What was the reaction to the Yeti?
I mean, obviously, it's just like, who was under there?
Ron Reese. He was in Raven's Flock after. He was like the big giant guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously, it's ridiculous. But the fucking, the gobbledygook, like all that shit, like
yeah.
They were just trying. They were for sure trying to just like build something until something stuck, right? And they were like, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah. Well, they were creating this lore for Hogan to be in his own world, so he wouldn't have to fucking take everyone else down with him, like all the other good wrestlers. Suck them into his orbit.
When did the show start getting longer? Because by the end, it was 3 hours.
Yeah, it's still about another year until it gets to 2 hours, and then 3 hours is still years from now.
They cram a lot into an hour, and then at the end,
I like the 1 hour format.
And then there's like recap shit too. So really, it's like, how did you do that?
Yeah,
it's wild.
Well, they have very short matches mostly. They only have like the matches are like 4 minutes.
And it was always live. Was Nitro always live?
Yeah.
Yep. Dude,
3 hours. Well, when they did 3 hours, the first hour was sort of like a pre-show. It wasn't like it was mostly recaps and then like 1 or 2 matches and interviews.
Which is probably why I thought it was so boring as a kid.
Yeah, that's why you log, because they didn't do all the good stuff until the second hour, because that's when Raw started. Yeah. To your point. There you go.
Yeah. It made total sense to me. But I'm not watching DX or Stone Cold, brother. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's all. That's it. That's all I need. Interesting.
That was the real, like, even when I thought it was WWF. Like, I knew about DX. I thought DX and the NWO were the same, were both like WWF when I was a child, and hearing about it, because people, I only really knew the WWF logo. And I thought it was all a part of them. And so I didn't like, I guess the branding of WCW just like didn't stick.
I remember thinking it was like for old people, as like a 10-year-old or whatever. I remember thinking like, oh, this is the like Hulk Hogan and fucking Ric Flair, old news. This is for old guys. I'm watching the cool shit,
That's fair.
That makes a ton of sense, because
also that was WWE's marketing too, that they're the old guys.
And ironically they were on
where the old men play.
And they were ironically on USA, and Raw would start after like Jag.
Or La Femme Nikita.
Yeah, La Femme Nikita.
The others.
You just unlocked a fucking memory, brother. Couple nuggets in there.
Well, I'll let you explore that memory. And on that note, Bo, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun. You fit right in. We still don't have an update on Colin. We hear he's going to be taking a helicopter to next week's episode. Will Colin be back in time for the next KNITRO? We will see. No, we won't. But follow us on KNITRO Pod on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We post stuff throughout the week. We interact with you guys, and I believe in the Hardlore Discord, there's some Nitro viewing parties too. So
there are Nitro viewing parties. There's a wrestling channel.
Nice.
Cool. We watch pretty much any like WWE pay-per-view, and then whatever AEW is doing, we'll watch. And there's like a viewing party, and they watch this stuff. It's awesome. It's very cool. So check
more
that
wrestling
out.
hangs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna figure out how to use Discord, and then I'll watch a pay-per-view with you guys.
Discord is a mess, but once you get it, it's awesome. So if you're curious, check that out. It's fun.
I have the app, but I've never. I opened it one time and I was like, "That's a lot of things."
It's
okay,
a lot.
It's just, if you know how to use Slack, it's basically Slack.
It's true. It's basically Slack. It's very true.
Okay. Word.
We'll get through the tech issues, and hopefully you can join us next week right here on KNITRO.